Hey guys, Tech Flash here. So now that Apple announced the iPhone 13, I wanted to touch upon a few things and especially discuss how Apple gets away almost every time with technically just providing us a few new colors. Now, I don't mean to hate on Apple. I myself use several Apple products, but I think it's fair to say that the iPhone 13 wasn't really too exciting. The iPhone 13 was 95% identical to the iPhone 12, which was about 70% identical to the iPhone 11. And actually, I still use an iPhone XS as a daily driver and never particularly saw a need of an upgrade apart from maybe wanting a better battery life. And again, I'm not saying the phones are bad. This video is more about the lack of innovation that Apple seems to get away with every time. So starting with the notch. Yes, the infamous notch that doesn't seem to go away. Initially, when Apple announced that they were making a smaller notch, I gotta be honest, it got us a little bit excited, but not too long after, it started to sink in that the notch is just about 20% smaller. Now, to put things into perspective, the notch was introduced back in 2017 alongside the iPhone X. We have had 3 generations of iPhones after that. That means that even 3 years later, we saw the same notch with no noticeable difference, same size, and no attempt to make it smaller. Considering the amount of time that has passed, I would say the notch should have disappeared by now. When we compare other phones out there, we have much better screens, much better displays with better resolutions to iPhones. Keeping in mind, Apple is a multi-trillion-dollar company, not even a trillion-dollar company, it's a multi-trillion-dollar company. Does that really make you believe that Apple hasn't figured out how to hide away a depth camera and an IR scanner under the display? And let's talk about displays a little bit more, because the displays this time for the iPhone 13 were introduced with a high refresh rate of 120 Hz. Now, this is the first time in an iPhone that more than 60 Hz refresh rate was seen on the display. And I'm talking about only the Pro model, so it's not even across all the lineup. You guys know when the Samsung introduced a 120 Hz display? This was back in 2020 when the Galaxy S20 was introduced. That's over a year and a half ago. And you guys want to know something else? You know who provides the displays to Apple? It's Samsung. Yes, the same displays which are seen on flagship Samsung devices are seen on Apple devices as well. In fact, this year, Samsung provided over 120 million OLED panels to Apple that are being used on the iPhone 13 and some iPad models as well. On top of that, you guys want to know another interesting fact? Apple is actually a pioneer in LTPO technology, which is used for having fast refresh rate displays. In fact, Apple holds most of the patents for it. So if you think about it, it means that Apple did not introduce the 120 Hz display on purpose on the iPhone 11 or the 12 when they clearly had the technology and means to do it. Even then, Apple right now has the audacity to introduce it only on the Pro variant. A Xiaomi or Poco phone that costs a third of the price even has a 120 Hz display. Samsung even went ahead and took a jab at Apple with a tweet saying that they've been refreshing in 120 for a while now. Even with all of this, I know for a fact people will be waiting outside the Apple store, and they actually have been. I saw some news about people waiting outside Apple from last night, and that has a lot to do with the psychology of how Apple has manipulated all of us into thinking that iPhones are the best smartphones out there when we clearly have better performing, better spec'd out phones at lower cost. See, the thing is, Apple and especially iPhones have become, you can call it more or less of a status symbol, and this is something that Apple knows, and they keep playing along with it. I mean, iPhones, especially nowadays, are not cheap. The base version starts at $700 and you can get a very good Android phone with the best specs possibly for maybe $200 to $300 less than that. So I don't doubt an iPhone to be less than a status symbol. It's something that you just want to have. It's like when you know you probably shouldn't eat a whole bar of chocolate, but you still go ahead and do it. You know it's not the best possible option or the best choice, but you still do it. But having said that, there is a reason why Apple doesn't introduce all of the features in one go, even if they already have it at the back end. And that is the illusion of the effect that they imprint on you for wanting more and more. Let me give you a small and weird example. When you go to a fancy restaurant to have a 7-course fine dining experience, the restaurant provides you these little petite servings which are almost kind of like a one-biter. The reason they do that is to leave you wanting more. That gives you the ability to keep your appetite up throughout the whole 7 dishes. This is a weird example, as I said, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. Apple doesn't release things on purpose, because if they do, then they may not have much to offer next time. So they tease you, give you one thing at a time, and most people are impressed with it and keep craving for more. This is why you'll see Apple fanboys having their minds blown by a 120Hz display or even just a new color option, and that's somehow enough to give Apple fanboys a rush. Another thing to mention here is that Apple just does it better, and yes, they take their time, they go ahead and spend their sweet time before they launch something, but when they do it, it's immaculate. It has no flaws, has no errors, and a good example of this perhaps be the camera system on the iPhone. And before I say anything, I believe the cameras are actually one of the things that Apple is doing so well that no other company is coming near to it. We have seen many cameras nowadays with huge sensors and a massive megapixel count, such as the S21 Ultra, which has the 108 megapixel camera. Think about it, 108 megapixels is a very high megapixel count. On the other hand, Apple is still using the same 12 megapixel sensor, but they've tweaked it in such a way that the results, the colors, are 90% better than any other camera out there, and it's the same with their chips. Apple recently revolutionized the processor game when they introduced their own silicon with the M1 chip. It was something that no other competitor was even getting close to. Even now with the A15 Bionic chip, which Apple claims to be 30% faster than the competition, and we actually even saw some benchmark scores being leaked, and the iPhone with the A14 was still going strong than the chips that are still to be introduced in the future. A few weeks back, I also did a video comparing the Z Fold 3, which has the Snapdragon 888, with the iPhone 12 Pro, which has the A14 Bionic. The speed was practically the same, and in some cases the iPhone was still even faster a year later. We can say the same thing about foldable devices. Now, no doubt Samsung was the first company to introduce a foldable device, but right away, if you guys remember, the panels and displays started to break and you could see a very big crease in the middle of the display. Even now, after fixing the issue, you still get to see a big crease right down the middle of the Z Fold 3. Something like this you won't see from Apple, because they would thoroughly do their research, take their time, and then come out with a foldable device only once they have perfected it, and maybe that's why Apple manages to stay ahead of everyone else. And finally, perhaps the greatest reason why people keep going back to iPhones is that the Android universe is made up of large number of handset types and brands that are hard to keep track and remember, and it features a dizzying array of options. People who are turned off by that complexity gravitate to the iPhone because the choices are simple and few. Anyways guys, that is it for the video. What do you guys think? In your opinion, why do you think people keep buying iPhones even with the release such as the iPhone 13 that provided no real innovation? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and consider subscribing, because we are trying to reach 5,000 subs by the end of the year. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.